Hello there. This is a Viridescent podcast. I am the host of the show, Hassan Green. This is the pilot episode, actually. So please keep your expectations low. I'm not expecting this to be that great right out of the gate. Again, this is a work in progress, and I'm going to do my best to at least put a decent finished product out there. I've been wanting to try my hand at doing some kind of a podcast for quite a while. I've been trying to do my homework, been watching a lot of people, watching the video podcasts, listening to audio podcasts. I even sat in on a local podcast. Shout out to my man Bryce Benjamin with his Sport Your Enthusiasm sports podcast. Give it a listen, look it up. It's on Spreaker. But again, I sat in on his and got my feet wet a little bit, and I loved the experience. It gave me, further motivation to, not just keep a dream, make it a reality, even if it is a small pipe dream. So again, this is the first one, hopefully the first of many. And again, don't judge me too harshly. Never really done this on my own before. But my show or podcast, whatever you want to call it, at least at this point in time, will be a little short and sweet. There's a few things I want to talk about, or I feel like I'm comfortable talking about to release out to the public. A couple of personal things. I won't get too personal. And then also things that might be out in the news, and just things to discuss. And that's kind of how I'm thinking I'm going to keep it. So yeah, here we go. I hope you enjoy what you're about to give your attention to, what you're about to hear. And as I go along with this project or this hobby or this, regular thing, I hope to make it in the future a regular thing as I go on with this. Hopefully, whoever you are out there, and many other people will listen and enjoy. So here we go. All right. One thing to get, I guess, personal right out of the gate to break the ice. Those of you guys out there who know me personally or know me closely enough will know that I do enjoy a challenge. Definitely a mental challenge. I like riddles. I like brain teasers. I like puzzles. Those of you who know me real closely, know that I do try to sit in front of a TV and watch Jeopardy as much as I can, and play along at home. Some folks will, ask me, how come you haven't taken the test? You should be on the show. And for me, I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Cause with my luck, I'll make it on the show, and there'll be a category, or Final Jeopardy will be about Shakespeare, and that's what's going to do my ass in. So, I don't know, maybe one day I'll get the courage. I'm still young, or young enough as some old folks out there say. So who knows, maybe one day I'll get the courage and go on Jeopardy and be a real celebrity at that point. But anyway, I do like a challenge, and I want my listeners to be challenged a little bit. And I'm going to try to do this every episode, but I'm going to throw a riddle at you guys. And at the end of the show, at the end of the podcast, the episode, I'll give you the answer. And maybe one day, I'll make something fun out of it, or make it, worth the while. But again, I just like a little challenge. So if you're still listening at this point, listen. And here is the riddle. They have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, yet they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? I'll give it to you one more time. The riddle is, They have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, yet they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? So think on that, and by the end of the episode, perhaps you'll have an answer, and when you get the answer from me, you'll have a little bit of self-gratification. No prizes yet, okay? I'm still just a poor man doing a free thing. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. And at this point, we're going to move on to topics of discussion. All right, the first topic of discussion is in regards to a word that was brought up recently to me. It's a word that I think means a lot to me right now that I've had a few days to think about the definition of that word and how it's being applied to my life currently, and I guess you could say in the near future. The word was brought up by a good friend of mine who is a local photographer, and she just a few days ago with me did a really nice photo shoot. Made me look awesome, I would say. And the good photographers can make their subjects look really good, and that's exactly what happened in my case. I'm personally not one. I've never really been one to just kind of put myself out there like I'm hot shit or that I always look good, and I damn sure do not always look good. I mean, ask my ex-girlfriends, that is, do I always look good? They'll definitely tell you the truth. But anyway, one of the photos that I got back from her when she was, all set and had done her photo editing and everything, one of the pictures that I got out of the group that I put out there on social media, I put it out on my Instagram and my Facebook. One of the photos I converted to black and white to try to make it look a little more serious, or I guess dramatic, for lack of better terms. I don't believe I was smiling much. I don't have the picture in front of me, but it was just kind of a serious, kind of model-esque, if that's even a real word, kind of model-esque look. And another friend of mine, shout out to Skyline. You know who you are, man. Love you, man. He chimed in on the picture, and said, "So what's the title of your book?" And I got the joke instantly. It was funny as hell. The picture looked like, when you buy a novel and you're looking for the picture of the author on the back cover or something like that. That's what it looked like. And I just, in the, spur of the moment or whatever, just instantly I came up with the word, what was the word? I said transition. And I kind of tried to be genuine. I tried to think of a word that was in my mind, at least in the present day, all things considered in my personal life. And going back to my photographer, my friend, she said rebirth. And it hit me. I said, yeah, rebirth is perfect. Like, there it is. Bam, sell it. Rebirth is perfect. And that hit the nail on the head. Rebirth would be perfect. If I were writing a book or a novel or hell, a memoir about my life right now, just focusing on, if I wrote a book just focusing on this time of my life, the last, handful of months, it would likely be called Rebirth. Absolutely. And what I'm doing right now, considering what's been going on in my life for the last 4 months or so, right now at this point in my life, mid-February, I am going through a rebirth. I am trying to, constantly figure out who I am, who I want to be. Looking back on my life, how I lived it, up to this point, calculating, recalculating, all kinds of stuff, to hopefully one day in the very near future be 100% certain that when I look in the mirror, I'm happy with who I see, and when I look inside myself, I'm 100%, happy and satisfied, content with what my identity is, what my personality is. And yeah, rebirth is a perfect word, I would say. And sometimes when people go through big life changes, whether they ask for it or they don't, or, they're forced into some kind of a life change, sometimes a rebirth is necessary. Sometimes a rebirth is what happens. Truth be told, those who know me personally, truth be told, I'm going through a divorce right now. It's tough. Those of you guys out there, if you've gone through it yourself, or, somebody who's gone through it, it's tough as and then there's definitely shitty days, some decent days, and maybe even a bright day or two peppered in there. But for example, going through a divorce can cause the parties to go through their own personal, individual, respective rebirths. And it's kind of funny, I guess, in my personal life, or from what I've seen through my close friends, or from my close friends and family members, these kind of rebirths or resurrections, whatever you want to call them, they're usually happening after some kind of a split or some kind of a breakup. It's not like that 100% of the time, unfortunately. If there's a death in the family, or somebody loses a close friend, or someone loses their spouse or their child, God forbid, there is a sense of a rebirth that can occur, and they're always positive, or they always end up being positive when it's all said and done, at least from what I've experienced, from what I know, in my opinion. And if I'm wrong, if there's a counterpoint, please let me know. Definitely let me know. But for me, yeah, that's what I'm going through. And I've changed the way I think, not just for myself or for how I interact with both my boys, my sons. I've changed the way at least I've slightly changed the way I interact with just people in general. And it's something we should all strive to do. I believe. I find myself out in public treating people, trying to treat everyone, as if I don't know what they're going through. I take the high road, and I just, if somebody, cuts me off or whatever on the street, while I'm driving, or if somebody bumps into me, or if somebody just kind of has what looks like maybe a negative, hopefully a non-violent demeanor, I'm starting to take the high road. I just assume maybe they don't know what they're going, or I don't know what they're going through. Because a divorce, for example, yeah, it it sucks. It really sucks, but there are worse things out there. Somebody could have lost their job, or hell, somebody could have lost custody of their child or their children, or they could have been in a car accident, or they're still unemployed and they still can't get a job, whatever. But this rebirth has caused me, for example, to look at people differently. That's the point I'm trying to make. Another thing about rebirths, and I'm going to switch it up again. I keep saying that word a little too much. Let's say reinventing, or reinventions of oneself. It causes you to, go back over the things you like, the things you love, the things you don't love, and kind of reaffirm, the things about you, your qualities. Maybe you end up gaining more qualities. You should always hope, I suppose, to maybe not keep your faults, or let's say refine them so they're not as abrasive or not as negative. But this kind of thing, this kind of transition, or this kind of change that a reinvention brings about, as I said before, a finished product, or a kind of ending that is most often than not positive. And that's what I hope is what I'm doing right now at this point in my life. I like who I am, and I'm not saying I don't love who I am right now. I'm just kind of worn down, maybe a little worn out, because of what I've gone through, what I'm still going through. It's taken a lot out of me at times. And I've had friends tell me, "Oh, you taking this like a champ, man. You ain't called her a bitch yet, or a hoe. You ain't called her out of her name or nothing like that." And I refuse to. That's not gonna help me at all doing that. I mean, I'm not really at this point in my life, or at this point of the process, interested in who made what mistakes and when. I mean, quite frankly, I think that it's kind of irrelevant now. This process is going to go, this life change is going to go the way it's going to go. I'm taking it day by day, trying to be the best person I can be day by day, and it'll do whatever it does, for lack of better terms. I'm not interested in calling anybody names. I'm not interested in who knows what, or who said what to who. I'm not really interested in it that way. I mean, other people deal with their divorces however they deal with them, and that's fine. But me, I've got to survive. I've got to be better. I've got to heal. I've got to do what I want to do within reason, what I can do, within reason, to be happy, to find some kind of solace in this and in my future. So, not to embellish too much more on things. I don't, quite frankly, I'm all talked out about divorce right now. I mean, maybe one day, in a future episode, if I make more episodes, I'll talk more about that topic. But right now, I'm not going to get into too much detail about what's going on. And for those of you, friends of mine out there listening, I'm not going to I'm not going to give you, all the dirty details. I'm not going to give you any drama or gossip or nothing like that. And I hope you don't go seeking that from the other party. So I'll just leave it at that. What I will add though about, and I'm going to say the word again, rebirth. I lost count on how many times I said it, but to add to that concept, I kind of think it's essential in everyone's lives. And, now that I've talked about it a little bit, they definitely don't always occur because, people broke up or people, split or whatever, or, someone was lost, not all the time about something that's negative. No. Sometimes it can happen, while, for example, if you're at that age, I shouldn't say that. I mean, you could be whatever age you want to be. If you're in school, you either, in college for the first time, or you're going back to college, you're going back to school. There could be a need for a reinvention of yourself. Whether you're fresh out of high school and you're used to doing things a certain way, you get to college and you realize, shit, I might have to change my ways, or maybe tweak some things here and there, to be successful at this new chapter in my life. And for the older folks, whether you're slightly or much older, going back to college is a rebirth. My mother had done it, a little while ago, or way back when, I should say. I mean, it gosh, I forget how many years it was, but it was at least 5 years ago, that's for sure. And she found herself going back to school, to get re-educated, and that was essentially a rebirth for herself. It was definitely a learning experience to go through higher education that had, a digital touch to it. I'm not trying to reveal to you guys how old my mother is, cause she'd kill me. But the last time my mother was in college, if I got my math correctly, she graduated college and a couple months later I was born. I'm 33 years old right now, and that's the only number I'm going to give to you. So don't waste your goddamn time trying to figure out how old my mama is. All right. Leave her alone. But again, if you're going back to school, the point I'm trying to make is that right there is a rebirth right then and there. And it does happen when people are maybe changing jobs or whatever. But, I think that it's essential in everyone's life. Everyone's lives. People change, people evolve, and in doing so, they find out more about themselves, or they find out, what they want to do with their lives, what they can do with their lives, etc. So, I think I will leave that topic alone right there. It's open for discussion. Or it's open for criticism, open for response. So feel free to let me know what you think. So now we're going to move on to the second topic. Okay, topic number 2 in the first episode of this podcast is pretty serious, really deep, a touchy subject, or a couple of subjects that some people just don't want to talk about. Others are, more than comfortable to talk about it, myself included. Hence why I've brought this up as a topic. The second topic here are my thoughts, or will have my thoughts about depression and anxiety. There, I said it. It's out there. No bullshit. Let's think about it while I talk about it. Depression is real. And in this day and age, you see it damn near everywhere. I remember a time where it kind of used to be taboo to talk about, or there was a certain kind of negative stigma about people having issues involving depression or anxiety. There was embarrassment that came with it. I mean, there still is now, but thankfully, at least from what I see, there isn't so much of that negative stigma around it. Folks are more courageous in at the very least acknowledging that they could be suffering from those symptoms or dealing with those things. And there's even more courage to acknowledge or to talk about when these folks are able to talk about what's bothering them or what they're dealing with, whether they're talking to their close friends, perhaps their coworkers, or family members, and eventually, we hope, a specialist, someone who is qualified to help them through those trying times, those difficulties. But yeah, depression is real. I will tell you flat out, I, like many other people, many of my friends and many people I've encountered in my life thus far, I've suffered from depression. Perhaps I'm still suffering from it. Going back to what I mentioned earlier about the life change I'm going through. But it's not debilitating to me. It's not something that is, well, thankfully at this point in time, it's not something that is keeping me from working. It's not something that's keeping me from being a parent to both my sons. It's not something that's keeping me from being a friend. It's something that has, though, in my past, on a few occasions, I was very down about different things, different experiences or different things that I just had going on in my life. They brought me down. They brought me seriously down, severely down. And somehow I survived. I say somehow I survived because not every time every time I was going through the things I was going through, every one of those instances, those points of time in my life, I didn't talk to a professional every time. And some people aren't as equipped, or perhaps aren't as fortunate to kind of self-sustain, to pick themselves up and get through those tough times. And you know what, I'm just gonna say it. There was a point in time in my younger adult life, in my 20s, where I made an attempt on myself. Wow. You didn't think, someone in their first podcast was going to come out and really give you some heavy shit. Huh. But you know what? It. I made an attempt on my life, and obviously it did not work. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to use the word successful. It didn't work. because quite frankly, in my opinion, there's nothing successful about suicide. It just didn't work. I didn't do it correctly or whatever, however you want to say it. Obviously it just didn't work. I'm here. I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm living to tell those of you out there that I made it. But again, some people aren't, some people just don't make it. And that could have been me going through one of my bouts of depression without talking to a professional. But the other times in my life, I did. I was fortunate enough to talk to a psychologist on and on. And eventually I spoke to both my psychologist and a psychiatrist. And for those of you out there that are kind of wondering what's the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, a basic difference is that a psychologist cannot prescribe you meds. A psychiatrist can. And a lot of times psychologists and psychiatrists do work hand in hand on their clients or with their clients. But a psychiatrist is usually, from what I remember, deals with these issues in a more clinical fashion. I might be wrong. Please correct me if I got that wrong. I'm not sure if there are other differences, but that was the one that was told to me directly, from the two individual professionals I had my experiences with. They just pretty much said, one of us can give you drugs, the other one can't. So that's how I took it. For those of you out there, if you're dealing with depression, just know that, or just try to keep in mind that what you're going through is real. What you're going through doesn't make you an outcast. It doesn't make you less of a human being. It doesn't make you less worthy of anything. No matter what your issues are that are causing you to, feel depressed. There is help out there. And if somehow you can't have professional help or gain professional help, I for one, I hope that you have friends, whether it's one friend, 2, 3, or plenty, several friends out there. Just know that you don't have to be alone. You won't be alone. You'd be surprised who might have gone through what you're going through, or is currently going through what you're going through. You could be surprised. So yeah, just know that. Another thing I want to say about depression is that, man, it's a bitch, to say the least. It can really put you in a place that, man, it can really just put you in a place that no one really deserves to be. Any self-respecting person doesn't deserve the bouts of depression, but they happen. I mean, they're kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like, catching a cold or something like that. I mean, we don't try to catch colds. you don't try to get sick, but it happens. And we do the best we can to deal with it, to get better, to heal. Excuse me. So, again, just know that that depression, excuse me, that depression, there's a positive outcome there. However you get the help, or however you get your help, you get your assistance, there is help. And I will say that if I'm putting myself out there, I mean, I told you a little bit about myself personally. I told you I've been to a very, very dark place. And for those of you, who are listening, who really, really care, really love me, or are close to me, I'm sorry. That I do apologize for not really talking about that before, because not everybody knew that. Honestly, not everybody knew that, and now it's out there. For those of you who might be thinking about it, thinking about trying to, make that move, trying to make that attempt, don't do that. Don't do that shit. Please don't do that. I mean, what happened to me where I was several years ago. And even though I'm going through something, a trial, tribulation, if you will, something very, very tough, I wouldn't have gotten this far, obviously, had that attempt went to fruition, or, had I followed through on it or whatever. I wouldn't have grown. I wouldn't have learned more. I wouldn't have had a rebirth, But yeah, those of you guys out there, those of you folks out there, that's not the way to go. It's not a solution. And I really hope, for all my listeners out there, everybody out there that might be listening to this, I know it's easier said than done, but I'm just going to say it right now because that's all I can do. Don't do it. All right. So I'm going to move a little bit off of, something like that to anxiety. Now, depression and anxiety, at least through my personal experience, not just with myself, but other people that I've known and I still know, depression and anxiety can go hand in hand. Just be connected at the hip. I personally had gone through it. I went through it recently. And it made things tough for not only myself, but people close to me. Made things very tough for people close to me. And I'm sure if it's happening to you, or if it's happened to you, you know what it's like. And anxiety, is, it can be such a messy thing. And it can be really chaotic in the head, because you're thinking one thing, you're thinking many, many things, you're wondering. And if you're the kind of person that overanalyzes anyway, holy shit, anxiety can just make things even worse. But it can make you manic. It can just drive you crazy. And I will say that every now and then I still deal with anxiety myself. I've gotten better with dealing with it, and certain things do help, like meditation. I listen to music a lot, and I'll listen to damn near anything, except I'm not really big on country. I don't know. Maybe I can appreciate it one day. I don't really know. I'm definitely not big on polka music. All right. I'm sorry if you are. It just ain't my thing. All right. I can't grow on that. I mean, I'm 33 now, and I mean, I might be young, by some people's opinions or, whatever, but it's just not gonna happen right now. So I'll listen to music a lot. I'll find myself listening to, or trying to watch, anything funny. I love stand-up comedy. And a lot of the people I'm listening to, or I've given my attention to right now, current comedians like Tom Segura, his wife Christina Pazsitzky, Joe Rogan, someone also listened to Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, Ron Funches, just some to name a few. Roy Wood Jr. is another one that I'm getting into finally, I guess. And you know, a lot of the classic comedians like Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, Richard Pryor, George Carlin. Anything that's funny will help me kind of ease my anxiety. That's my thing. I also tend to exercise, and for me, exercising, weight training helps with both anxiety and depression for me. It's actually kind of weird. If I'm depressed about something, I kind of I find myself using it as motivation. When I exercise, when I'm doing push-ups, I might be down about something, and I'm literally pushing through it, to feel better. So that's what works for me. If you find something that works for you, as long as it's, you know, healthy and it's safe, obviously. I should hope you don't fall into vices like, excessive alcohol, illicit drugs, illicit street drugs, that sort of thing, or abusive tendencies or abusive actions can be considered vices, I believe. As long as you don't fall into some, you know, negative stuff like that, you know, do what you can to help you with anxiety, whether it's, you know, talking yourself through an anxious situation, or reading, honestly, or writing, or going out for a walk, you know, whatever you can do to help you through it, do that. I'm gonna talk about something real personal, and it's not as depressing. It's a little humorous and kind of embarrassing, but I used to deal a lot with anxiety in high school. I got into high school day one freshman year, thinking that, you know, it wasn't going to be long before I had a girlfriend. I was trying to have a high school sweetheart. Yeah, that wasn't exactly the smartest thing. I don't say smartest. It was ill-advised. Okay. It was ill-advised. And I was just trying to fit in my freshman year, I remember, but I think damn near every decent female that I saw, I was trying to get them to like me, and eventually trying to get a phone number or some shit, and the end result was going to be me. Actually, no, the third step was me getting to be their boyfriend, and the final step was me getting my dick wet. Like, I was, you know, trying to, you know, be the boyfriend in every way, shape, or form. Why did I say that? Because adolescent boys are horny fucking devils. All right. They are. We don't know any better. Okay. It's hard enough for us trying to be good students, but I mean, when we were walking around and we thought, you know, girls were cool, or, you know, girls were attractive, we were just dumb about it. And so was I. So that's a slight beginning to the embarrassing story, but it was like that all the way through high school. And those of you out there, if you went to high school with me, I went to McKinley High School, 99 to 2003. If you went to high school with me And I was trying to be your friend. Yeah, I wasn't just trying to be your friend. All right. And I think if you don't know that by now, then goddamn. But that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to get a girlfriend, and I gave myself so much anxiety over it. I kept putting myself, I kept trying to put myself, what am I trying to say? I kept, getting my hopes up, thinking like, okay, she's going to like me, and she's totally going to like me, and we're going to hit it off, and I'm going to walk her to class like every day, and we're going to hang out after school, and my mom was going to like her. Yeah, that last part was bull. I don't believe my mother liked anybody, hardly anybody. And on a side note, why would she? I'm her firstborn. I'm her only son, and there were times when my mother kind of acted like nobody was good enough for her. Although she didn't. Truth be told, full disclosure, I never in high school I never got far enough with many of the girls, many if not all of them that I knew, to even get that far that my mother would meet them. And why is that? Because I just laid it on too thick, too fast, and too damn thick. I kept calling girls beautiful, like within two damn weeks of like trying to talk to them. So I was shooting myself in the foot many a times. So yeah, my mother never got to meet them, or never got to that point where my mother got to meet him and go, I hate that. But anyway, I used to set myself up for disappointment because I was young and dumb. I didn't know how to, I kind of maybe barely knew how to talk to a girl, but I didn't know, I was disillusioned. I didn't know about, how to talk to young girls. I mean, yeah, I had my dad around, and we had to talk, obviously, and I knew what was what about the ladies or whatever, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was trying to do everything, obviously, except getting a girl pregnant, because that was the worst thing you could do in high school, is get a girl pregnant. In fact, my mother had told me she would literally murder me. No, I take that back. She said, I'll put you through a wall if you get some girl pregnant. And those of you who know who my mother is, she would have did that shit. Yeah, she absolutely would have did that shit. And that was enough for me. The fear of that possibly happening was enough for me to not do that. But I damn sure was trying to get a girlfriend. That was for sure. And again, I was going too fast with them. I laid it on too thick. I didn't know what I was doing. So yeah, I spent a good portion of my high school years just going to school with anxiety. I mean, if I had a girlfriend, her name was Anxiety. Let's put it that way. So I was giving myself these, worries and overthinking things and all that fun stuff. And giving myself a ton of anxiety, and it carried over after high school into college. And even though I had a relationship a few months out of high school, and that relationship lasted. I got my first son out of that relationship, and it didn't work out at first, or it didn't work out eventually, and I found myself single again. I still kind of carried that anxiety, wondering, okay, I'm going to date. And if I was lucky enough to get dates, I was just kind of like, all right, is this girl going to like me? Are we going to hit it off? Like, is this going to be a new relationship? And, all that stuff. So for me, again, going back to the embarrassing story about me being in high school, I gave myself a lot of anxiety, and that carried into my adult years. Luckily, in high school, it didn't bring about depression. I mean, I had a bout of depression in high school, but that had nothing to do with my quote unquote romantic life in high school. I mean, because there was no such thing. But the anxiety I had, that had to do with the ladies. The depression had to do with something else personal. Maybe one day I'll talk about that. But I'm babbling on and on, it seems like, about, depression and anxiety. So let's move away from that and get into another topic. All right, this next topic is really not a singular topic. It's just a segment right now on the podcast where I'm just gonna start talking about a potpourri of things in the news. I guess the first thing I'll discuss, I'll talk about, is for those of us who live here in the Buffalo, New York area, is beating a dead horse. But what the is going on with the weather? It's been in either the high 20s, low 30s all week. And of course, coming into this coming weekend, we're talking 40s or high 40s and a high of 50. And then we're going to go back to winter weather. That's just what the hell happens around here. On one hand, I mean, I'm not really complaining because I won't have to shovel anything. And while I'm able-bodied and everything, I'm not going to shovel if I don't have to. And I know many of you guys out there feel exactly the same way. And every now and then, I get a little jealous of, people who've moved away from Buffalo, or, friends of mine out there in the world that, have probably never been here and maybe will never have a reason to be here, but they live elsewhere in warmer climates, and they're just talking about I wear shorts all year, and I'm like, you, just sometimes. But anyway, that's how the weather is around here. Those of us who live around here, we just take it in stride. We just deal with it. That is what it is. Another thing I wanted to discuss, is and as I go on with this, this podcast, or my contribution to the podcast universe, I'm gonna try to not talk about what everybody else is talking about. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to talk about politics. For example, I'll talk about politics, and those of you guys who know me closely know I will talk about politics. I don't give a damn about people's opinions about me and what I think about politics. Quite frankly, if you want to know how I feel about politics, Trump. But anyway, I mean, just in general, I'm saying I'll try not to talk about. I'll try to just do something a little different. I'll try not to talk about what's trending or what everybody's talking about. So, one thing that I saw out in the news recently, I want to say it was a week or so ago, where Hyatt's had opened in North Buffalo. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Hyatt's is an art store, art retailer, a damn good one too. I mean, I first became a Hyatt's customer when I was a freshman in high school because I needed art supplies, and that was my major. I went to McKinley High School, class of 2003. I was in advertising, art, and photography. Damn right. And I needed art supplies. So, my mama took me to Hyatt's, and, I bought, colored pencils, paper, everything that an art student would need for the most part. And as I got older, I got through high school. I eventually was doing photography, and I got my photo paper, and other supplies for my photography class. Also from there, and even out of high school into college, I got more art supplies from Hyatt's. And when you go to school for art or some kind of, physical art, whether it's graphic design or I'm trying to think of some other art majors that escape my mind at this hour, unfortunately. But when you go to school in an art core, there are specialty, stores, retailers where they're going to have everything you need. And Hyatt's is that place, at least in my opinion. You can go to Michael's, you can go to Joann's. They're great too. For me, it was Hyatt's. It was always Hyatt's. I found myself getting away from Hyatt's, or not being a customer in a long time, because life got in the way, I guess you could say. There was other things I was doing in my life that weren't as, I guess, involved in art. I had jobs that weren't, that had not really much to do with, like physical art, things that were, I wouldn't need colored pencils. I wouldn't need ink or markers or paint, or Bristol board paper, all that stuff. I wouldn't need that stuff. So I hadn't been a customer of theirs in a while. And I personally just kind of got away from art, even though I have a tote somewhere in storage that has the things I did now almost 20 years ago, and supplies that I haven't used in a while. But I was really excited to see that Hyatt's, had moved and had kind of expanded themselves, and the store, from what I can tell, is really nice. They've got adequate space and everything, and it looks like they're doing better than ever. My son, my firstborn, number one, he's in 7th grade, and he's good at art. He's good at arts and crafts, and he's been in there once or twice, and he's told me, it's great and everything. And I keep telling myself, I want to get back in there eventually, and sit down again and get back to some art, and see just how much I've lost, or how much I still got, or how much I still have, rather, to say it correctly, as far as art is concerned. Do I still have the same talents I had back when I was a student, or do I need to brush up on things? Pun intended. So that's one thing. Just on a side note, at this point in time, I think everybody's branching away from what's local. But at this point, everybody, I think, has heard about Jussie Smollett. Damn, that's unfortunate. That's just a shame. Speaking about that situation, I just hope that, I hope something positive comes out of that for him. Obviously, there's consequences for his actions. I will say, though, if you're gonna stage something like that, why in the hell did you get 2 Nigerians? Damn. What were they like? Were they cheaper or something? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna go on a whole rant about that. Just genuinely speaking, I hope it doesn't take away from the real things, from what really happens to LGBTQ folks. I mean, because what was staged in that particular situation, that can and probably, very likely has happened to real victims. I mean, there are real victims there, and they don't deserve that kind of treatment. I just hope that this situation doesn't diminish the concern for those victims, for those folks, hell, for those potential victims. I mean, because folks out there who are proud and should be proud to be whoever they want to be, they are subject to treatment like that, to negative treatment like that. And I just hope that this situation appears, like I said, has allegedly appeared to be staged, put on as a ruse or whatever. I just hope that it doesn't make things worse for people in the LGBTQ community. I just really hope not. Another thing that I feel like I want to get off my chest. And again, this is just my opinion. I don't know how those of you out there feel about it. Many of us who are out there on social media, or who love movies, especially the Disney movies, we saw Will Smith as the genie in Aladdin. Say what you will about Will Smith being cast. I know people absolutely loved, with all their heart and soul, Robin Williams as the genie. I thought he was great. He was amazing. In fact, personally, the genie is one of my all-time favorite, if not the favorite, Disney character in the entire Disney universe. That could be open for discussion or comparison at a later date. But I'm not against Will Smith being the genie. And I understand that Disney is trying to make things live action. I think they're doing it wrong. They're doing it wrong. Way wrong. I think I saw somewhere somebody said that this genie looks like they took Will Smith's head and put it on The Rock's body or something like that. It looks very questionable. I'll definitely say that. One thing I didn't, and maybe this is just an uneducated opinion about things, but I could swear that Disney owns Marvel, right? Disney owns Marvel Studios. So, having said that, why couldn't Disney just take some resources and or manpower from Marvel Studios and give Will Smith the Josh Brolin Thanos treatment? Yeah, why didn't they just do that? I think that you would have come out with a better genie, because technically the genie, if you look at, I guess you could say, the original Aladdin, everybody, don't get me wrong, the genie had, a face, had a beard, nose, eyes, a mouth, ears, all that stuff. But he wasn't quite human. Why didn't they just do that? Do what they did with Josh Brolin as Thanos, with Will Smith as the genie. Everybody else, obviously, in the movie is human for the most part, except for Iago, the parrot or the bird that hangs out with Jafar. Of course, then there's Abu. There's Jasmine's tiger, and there is the magic carpet. But yeah, why couldn't they could have just did the genie differently. I mean, there's a small part of me that's just hoping, what we saw in the trailer, and what we see in the, production photos or whatever, a small part of me thinks that, okay, they're just with us, right? Like, this is not the finished product. But who knows? I just think they're doing it wrong. Does it mean that I don't want to see the movie? Hell no. I want to see the Aladdin movie. Damn right. I want to see the Aladdin movie. I want to see the Lion King movie, even though I have my own opinions about that quote-unquote live-action Lion King movie. But yeah, I'll go see Aladdin. Absolutely. I want to see it. And who knows? I might feel different about Will Smith as a genie when it's all said and done after the movie's over. So yeah, that's something else I wanted to talk about. Let's move on to maybe one more thing. All right, the very last thing I want to talk about, this one is actually credited to USA Today. I do sometimes go to their website, read some articles. I go to many of news publications' websites, just to, just keep up to date with what's going on if I can't watch it on TV. And I'm gonna try to talk about briefly another touchy subject. And they have a article they put out recently, not today or yesterday, but recently. This article titled "How often should you have sex with your partner?" Now, if I read this 10 years ago, I would have said every day, all day, every day. And again, that would have been me at age 23 because I didn't know any better. Here's my opinion. As often as you want to. I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm 33 and I know I can't engage in that kind of activity every single day. Don't get me wrong. I would love to wink to any of y'all interested, any of you ladies interested, but I just can't do that every single day. I mean, I don't do enough cardio, like exercising, to have the stamina to do that. I might look like I could go every day, ladies. Maybe that's your opinion. That's your prerogative. If you believe I might be that kind of guy, but no, I can't do that. Can't go all out every day. But yeah, it would, it's up to the couples, hell, it's up to the couples whether you're gay or straight, whatever. How often should you have it? As often as you want to. Just plain and simple. How you do it, that's a whole other story, a whole other conversation, and might be a whole other podcast episode. So yeah, just as often as you want to. It's got to be mutual, obviously, consensual. Leave the phones out of it, all right? Put the phones down, focus on each other. And if you do that, it'll obviously be more enjoyable. That's really going to be all I got to say about that. I'm going to make the move to the next segment of this podcast. I like to call it the 29. All right, this is the closing segment to the podcast. I kind of drew it up this way that I'd have a closing segment to just, maybe try to fit in one more topic or just kind of go back over, hopefully briefly, everything I just talked about. And I call it the 29, and it's truly an inside joke that probably, based on everybody that I can think of in my life, friends, family, I'm probably the only person that right now that knows why I call it the 29, the 29. Shoot me an email or if you know me personally, you, by all means, you're very, welcome to ask me, why did I call it that? I think most of you are gonna, sit back and go, you're such a damn geek, or you're such a nerd. Really, that's why you call it that? I mean, you'll get it after I explain it, but then be like, really, you're so fucking corny. But anyway, in closing, I first and foremost just want to say to those of you listening, thank you for making it this far. I really appreciate it. This is a work in progress. I do hope to, put out many more podcast episodes as I continue on with this. It's something I've wanted to do, and like I mentioned before, I'm a talker. I like to talk. I like to converse with people, and this is a way that I can, in a certain kind of way, I can talk to those of you out there, or I can just talk, period. In my experience, my life experience, I've known people that, maybe didn't want to listen to me talk all the time. And I said, okay, I need an outlet for it. And this is what I got. And truth be told, at this point in my life, given, taking into consideration what I'm doing with my life, what I'm dealing with or whatever, this is a coping mechanism, if you will. I mean, it's something that I want to do, but it's also a little bit of it is helping me deal, helping me heal, helping me cope. It's definitely somewhat of a distraction from more serious things, or from the effects of more serious things that I'm dealing with. Again, thank you for listening to this podcast. I hope if you choose to, I hope you do choose to stick around and listen to every episode I put out in the near future, in the future, and in the distant future. I want to keep this going and going and going. Please feel free to, give me your thoughts, give me your responses, your counterpoints, your opinions, your criticisms. Please, I welcome any. I shouldn't say any. I mean, I'm not dealing with the negative. All right, don't start calling me out of my name, or sending me hate mail, or saying you're gonna do this or do that to me. I don't want that. But as long as it's positive, genuine, give me what you got. If you have ideas, or definitely if you have ideas, if you have topics that you want me to discuss, or you want to hear my opinion on it, definitely, let me know. At this point in time, again, this is something that's just barely getting off the ground. It's a work in progress. Right now, I just have an email that you can send email inquiries or responses to, and that email is a Viridescent podcast straight through. Viridescent, if you're not familiar with the word, it's another word for green or greenish, okay? And yeah, I got corny with it, but I wanted to call it something unique. But anyway, the email is, again, just straightforward, a Viridescent podcast at gmail.com. All right, it's AVIRIDESCENT podcast, PODCAST at gmail.com. All right. So that's where you can, send whatever you want to send to me. I'll see it, I'll read it, and I'll take it from there. So the last thing I want to do is give you the answer to that riddle from the beginning of the podcast, from the opener. Just bear with me here. The riddle, once more, again, is: they have not flesh, nor feathers, nor scales, nor bone, yet they have fingers and thumbs of their own. What are they? The answer is gloves. Yeah, that's the answer. And I really hope you didn't, just decide to just, take out your phone or hop on Google or whatever and search for the answer. Seriously, please don't do that. All right, challenge yourself. Okay, challenges are good. I mean, you end up learning something new. You end up stronger on the other end, depending on the challenge. Okay, but any challenge is a good challenge. All right, test yourself. All right, that's all I got to say for now. Last time, once again, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll hear from me again soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.